Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Facebook Live. This evening, thank you for joining me. Hopefully, you can all hear me well. Let me just fix a couple of things. Whoops, there we go. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Just wait for a few more of you to hop on. But before we start, my name is Nancy Abdu. I'm the CEO and founder of the Australian Dermal Laser Institute, where we bring you all things device training. So if you're on YouTube or Facebook, welcome. And if you're on Instagram over here, welcome. And thank you for allowing me to be part of your lounge room tonight. And hopefully you're not missing out on maths. Oh well, it's the last dinner party, which is apparently meant to be explosive as always. But what is even more explosive is how to treat acne. So if you've joined me tonight and if you have issues or problems, with treating acne, this is the right life to join tonight. So like I said, I'll just wait for a few more of you to hop on. Now, while I do that, a little bit about ourselves. We provide all sorts of training around Australia and face-to-face in your clinic, and as well as we have online modules as well. So with our training, we bring to you anything or any device that you've got, such as IPL, laser hair removal, laser tattoo removal, plasma fibroblasting, radiofrequency, needling, HIFU, fat cavitation, electrolysis, diathermy, effiblating, and so much more, including carbon facials, or what we call China doll facials, far out. Which I'm going to discuss with you tonight as well. Now, I'm not too sure if some of you are aware, but what Tedley is offering is a bit of a special, I suppose, a promotion or a way of helping you all out. And it's because I've heard a lot of struggle happening, in amongst our clinics. So a lot of the clinics are struggling in trying to bring clients and paying for treatments or packages or whatever it might be, just because of the downturn of the financial economy. So one way of increasing sales is by value adding or using your existing devices off-label, or in creative ways to maximize your return on investment. And so what a better way to maximize your results and ROI is to get a little bit of training and have your team trained up on how to combine modalities, how to customize, how to work out plans and protocols and what have you for your clients. And I understand training can be expensive. So what we've decided to do is to provide you with training. So if two clinics ask for training in a similar area, you can join forces, and we will only charge you for the one clinic. So essentially you are getting 50% off your training, and that way we're able to help you, inspire you, motivate you, and educate you, and hopefully stay above water at this very difficult time. So if you're interested in essentially a 2-for-1 or a 50% off training, go to our website www.dermalandlaser.com.au and fill in the contact form. There's a special contact form for this very offer, which we never ever do, but we understand all these clinics are really struggling at the moment, and so we're here to help you. We're just here to help you guys just in the interim. Anyway, so moving on. Tonight, I want to talk to you all about treating acne. And we're talking active acne as well as acne scarring. So the first part of tonight, or the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I will discuss how to treat acne with, like I said, the carbon facial or the China doll facial, LED, IPL, how to infuse or what to infuse, and also what we call cool or cryotherapy as well. So we'll discuss that. If you have any questions, let me know. And the other part of tonight is scarring. So once we've cleared up the acne, how then do we actually target the scarring? And that could be with RF needling, it could be with skin needling, again with IPL, and other infusions too to help with remodeling. So if you have a device and I haven't mentioned it, please don't be shy. Put it in the comments box and I will cover that for you. But first of all, let's talk about actually treating acne itself. And of course, acne can happen for so many reasons. Obviously it's hormonal. It could be, you've got a client who's going through puberty or menopause or going through a stressful change where cortisol is elevated and therefore it affects your sex hormones. So there are so many reasons why acne can actually be triggered, but I'm not here to talk to you about that. I'm here to talk to you about treating and managing these acne lesions. So my first course of action will always be to introduce really good skincare, of course. So skincare for the first, at least I'd say 4 weeks, to help with repairing the barrier, ensuring that we're trying to minimize or reduce the sebum production. So there are various actives to do that, and also increase cellular turnover and possibly gently exfoliate the skin. But how do we treat it in clinic and with the devices that we have? So one of the first things, like I said just before, would be LED. And it'd be a combination of both red and blue LED. Red to help with the wound healing, of course. We know 630 nanometers or thereabouts is going to help with increasing ATP in the skin, so cellular energy in the skin. And when we do that, we will get quicker healing, of course. So the quicker the wound healing, the less scarring your client is going to experience. So red LED is paramount, as well as blue LED. So blue LED, roughly around 415, 420 nanometers is what we're looking for. So it's blue LED. And what happens there is a chemical reaction similar to your IPL, where your porphyrins, so in the white blood cells, we have our porphyrins. Once they're exposed to this blue LED or blue IPL, they're converted into O2 molecules. Now, O2 being oxygen is antibacterial, is going to help with oxygenation of that area, is going to help with wound healing, toxin clearance, and it'll minimize the or reduce the severity rather of the actual lesion itself. So blue LED is going to help with reducing the appearance and the severity of that actual acne lesion that they have, or the pimple that they have, pustule. Now, what someone asked me today was, can I do more than one color? Can I have blue and red on at the same time? Yes and no. So no, I say because you'll find that the skin gets way too hot. LED is non-thermal. We are not wanting heat in the skin. If it's a skin fat Fitzpatrick 1 or a 2, you probably could get away with it, not a problem. Or if it's a low powered LED, you could get away with it. But if we're using an LED in our clinics, which are usually high powered and they're quite strong, and the power output is quite high, I would say do them not at the same time because of the amount of heat. And in particular, skin types 3 or higher may experience a bit of post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation just because there's so much light coming out. So be mindful of that if you are using a powerful device, that there's not you're not going to be causing PIH. So that's the first thing. If you do have a low-powered LED and your client needs to be under there for a little bit longer than say the 7 to 10 minutes, you potentially could have them under both wavelengths without causing too much heat and PIH. But just keep that in mind. And also the exposure to too much blue LED. There's two things I'll raise here. One is on a Diker Fitzpatrick, they will experience a bit of PIH. So one, have the LED far enough from the skin as to not generate too much heat and to stimulate those melanocytes. Or two, have the treatments spaced further out apart. So your blue LED probably have that every second or third day. And the other thing we want to be careful with blue LED is the potential of keeping your clients awake. So if you're performing a treatment in the evening, your client might complain to you that they couldn't fall asleep. And it's because it actually blocks your melatonin production temporarily. So just be mindful if you're doing this treatment out of the evening. So let's say 5, 6, 7 o'clock, your client may struggle to fall asleep. So that's with the blue light. So be careful of that. But otherwise, if you do blue light during the day, it might pick someone up and give them a bit of an energy boost. So that's not a bad thing. So that's how blue LED works, and it's like that chemical conversion, if you like, or chemical reaction. The other thing with that is if you've got green LED, you will find that green LED actually reduces the amount of inflammation that's actually associated with that pustule. So if you've got someone who you can see there's a lot of erythema, there's a lot of inflammation, then definitely the green LED is going to also reduce the inflammation from that pustule or around that pustule. So green LED is going to be great as well. Infrared will work by reducing inflammation at a deeper level. But if you want a quick, you can see it within 10 to 15 minutes, green LED is amazing at reducing that visible inflammation in the skin. So that is our blue, green, and red LED. Now, there was the dermatology. So some kind of a clinical paper a few years ago that suggested that if we did 3 blue LEDs, and you have to be careful because of PIH, but consecutively, so over 3 days, so 3 over 3 days, that it reduces the P. acnes bacteria by, I think it was like 97%. So blue LED is effective, but like I said, I would space them out so you're not getting PIH. So that's the first thing. The other thing that you could potentially do is your IPL. So if you've got a 415 or a 420 nanometer filter, all you need to do is go over each pustule probably 3 times at a very low setting. So I think some people, what I hear is they say use a high setting for treating acne. That's not necessarily, you don't really have to do that, because we're not relying on a photothermal reaction, we're relying on a photochemical reaction. And so what I'm wanting to see, or what I want to do to the actual pustule, is to expose it to the light in order for that conversion to happen, that photochemical reaction to happen. So blue LED, really low settings. Your client should be saying, I'm feeling roughly about a 4 or a 5 out of 10. It doesn't need to be painful at all. And we do 3 passes. So use between 20 and 40 milliseconds for each pulse, and you would do 3 passes. So you go over once, then you'll go over it again the second time, and then you'll go over the third time. And that's extremely helpful when you have acne that's quite aggressive, and you're wanting to hurry things up along. LED's taking maybe a little bit too long. IPL will be a little bit more aggressive because it's specifically delivering all that energy in that one particular area. So blue IPL, 415, 420 wavelength IPL will be quite beneficial. Now, one thing I haven't really spoken about a lot is your carbon facial. So carbon facial, also known as China doll facial, is where we're using our 1064 wavelength, so 1064 nanometers Nd:YAG Q-switch, to actually target the application of carbon. So I've worded that incorrectly. It's to target the carbon that's been applied onto the skin. So normally when we aim, our laser pointer, our laser at the skin with the 1064 with no carbon on the skin, we're actually targeting water in the skin, and we don't really get much of a reaction, especially with a Q switch. However, when we apply a layer of black carbon, we then give a target for this light. So it's very similar to having a black car and a white car in the sun. White reflects, whereas black is going to absorb. So what we're doing is we're applying a carbon lotion on, and we really want to rub that into the pores. And this is where I see a lot of therapists are really gentle with applying the carbon facial. They don't push it into the pores. You want to push the carbon into the pores using gauze, not cotton rounds, not anything else, not a fibrella or anything like that, or a brush. Use a gauze to actually push the carbon lotion into the skin. Because what happens is when we pulse at where that carbon is, the carbon's seeped into the pores, and the light from the laser is absorbed by it, and it basically shatters off the carbon particle. And as it shatters off the carbon particle, the actual any debris, right, or oil in that pore is lifted off as well. And in addition to that, that little bit of heat that's being emitted into the skin for that split 20 milliseconds is actually reducing the amount of sebum. It's actually affecting the sebaceous gland, and it's reducing the amount of sebum being produced. So then what happens is we find that acne is the actual sebum is slowed down, thereby reducing the amount of acne in the skin. It actually also helps with inflamed skin too. So the carbon gives a bit of an exfoliation, a little bit of a cleanse, but it also reduces the amount of inflammation that is in the skin. And then what some clinics will do, if they've got a long pulse 1064, they'll switch it from Q switch and they move on to long pulse, and they'll actually heat up the dermis for collagen remodeling and restoration. So that's your carbon facial and your China doll facial. And then we've got our infusion. So there's various devices out there which are going to help infuse product into the skin. So I'm not too sure if you're aware, but the Apollo Duet has an electroporation component or applicator where you put on whatever active you're wanting to push into the skin, whether it's positively or negatively charged. It doesn't matter. You don't need to know the polarity of the product. We apply it on the skin, and that way we could do multiple things to the skin, whether it's, we're wanting to speed up cellular turnover, or we're wanting to inhibit the amount of bacteria being produced, or it could be a salicylic, or it could be an enzyme. So when we infuse into the skin, we're actually doing, depends what you're actually infusing into the skin, there's multiple actions that can be taking place. So of course, infusions are going to be a big one, and in particular the Retinfuse. So the Skindividual, we've got a product called Retinfuse, and it's a retinaldehyde and a niacinamide dermal infusion. It's a cold peel, and that's going to help, once we mix it with our acne powder, that's going to help reduce the severity of the acne, as well as increasing cellular turnover and helping with scarring or preventing scarring as well. So you could potentially infuse that into the skin. Now, the other thing that has become really popular is cold therapy. So I don't know if any of you have seen cryo or cold therapy, or you may have seen some clinics using the they look like glass balls with little handles, and basically they're sort of waved around the skin, and thereby it actually takes away inflammation in the skin. So you could do something like that. Or once again, the Apology Wet has a cold applicator, a cool applicator, which goes to -15. You wouldn't use it at that low, but you could use that to draw out any inflammation, help calm the skin, and the cold therapy part of it actually helps with circulation. As you know, the more circulation there is, the better the nutrition. The better the nutrition that's going to be carried along, the better oxygenation, and the better the wound healing. So there's a number of things you could do to actually help treat or manage the acne. But then what do you do when we're left with scarring? And I love treating scarring. So we're going to be treating any scarring, and here we're here for acne, with anything that induces collagen. So let's think about ways that we can induce collagen. And there's about three different ways, three primary different ways. One is via tricking the skin into thinking it's being thermally traumatized. So with thermal devices or devices that deliver heat, we can mechanically traumatize the skin. So that could be with your needling device. Well, it is a needling device, so that's a mechanical trauma. Or there's a chemical trauma. So physical, mechanical, thermal, and chemical. So let's quickly talk about, what do we say, thermal. So we could be looking at IPL, so using a 580 or a 590 wavelength IPL to basically heat up the water in the skin, to heat up the collagen in the skin as well, and the elastin. So we're denaturing it in order to synthesize those fibroblasts. The other thing is, when we're using our 530 and 560, we can specifically target the pigmentation in order for it to microcrust and desiccate and microcrust and fall away. So we could do a combination of your 580, 590, and say a 530 on the same treatment or in the same treatment. So IPL is great for that. You could also do treatments such as laser genesis. So again, I just mentioned that earlier. So using long pulse 1064 nanometer wavelength. So not Q switch, ND-YAG rather. And what we're doing is we're waving that applicator over and over the actual area, and therefore we're actually heating the water in the skin, because the 1064 is highly absorbed by water, and therefore we're actually, again, we're tricking the skin into thinking it's being traumatized. So it's going to stimulate collagen and elastin and your glycosaminoglycans. So laser genesis is another way. RF will help to some extent with scarring. Of course, we're thermally heating the skin. We're denaturing the collagen fibers and bundles there. So RF definitely has its place. What else? What else have we got here? Let's have a quick look. RF needling. RF needling is a great one because it's a combination between mechanical and thermal. So I'll quickly explain what normal needling does, and then what we do when we combine two thermal and mechanical traumas. So normally with needling, when we needle the skin, we get a whole heap of growth factors being released. Apart from epidermal growth factors, you're getting something called VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor, and that VEGF is basically strengthening the inner lining of your capillary, thereby, I suppose, creating angiogenesis. And what that does is it's it's triggering more capillaries, not up here, but further down here. And so if we have more blood flow to the area, more nutrition, oxygenation, and you have platelets, so the release of cytokines and growth factors, in order to actually help with healing the scarring. So needling is amazing on its own. However, when you combine needling with RF, so you've got a device that does RF needling, not only do we have a mechanical wound being created, but at the end of that needle, depends if it's insulated or non-insulated, but if at the end of that needle we're releasing a burst of heat from radio frequency. So we're getting this, mechanical trauma through here, and down, depending on the depth of penetration or the needle depth you're choosing, down the bottom, we're actually getting remodeling at a dermal depth, which of course, you get two for the price of one, essentially. So RF needling is actually quite an amazing treatment to be performing on your clients as well. What other devices have you got? Hello, Georgie. What other devices do you have that I have not mentioned? Let me have a look at your comments. What else did I not mention? All right, so in terms of other methods, we've got chemical, and I've only got a few more minutes left before I leave you to go and watch maths again. So chemical is another way that we can actually help clear up scarring by increasing cellular turnover and providing the skin the proper nutrition that it needs in order for the cells to function optimally. So there's a number of things that you could be putting onto the skin or into the skin, including, vitamin A, vitamin C. There's so many different acids, whether it's a kojic or a mandelic or a salicylic. So lots and lots of different ingredients that are going to help the skin and have different functions. So speak to your skincare manufacturer, and then of course it depends what they choose as their hero ingredients in their skincare, but there's so many out there. The other thing you want to look at is how to lighten and brighten that pigmentation, or how to reduce that scarring. So great lighteners and brighteners could be licorice root extract, arbutin, bearberry. There's a product called IBR LCTC, and that comes from the skin of tomatoes, which reduces pigmentation, I think it's like 28% within 4 weeks. So that's another ingredient to look out for. But there are so many amazing skincare companies out there that have great, have great ingredients. So to speak to your manufacturer. If you're looking for skincare, of course, contact us, because we have Skindividual, which is a cosmeceutical formulated by us, myself and my team. Anyway, I have gone way over time. It's 7:59. Have an amazing evening, and don't forget that this Monday and Tuesday we have our Inflammaging workshop. So Pia Kynock and Tanisa Williamson are joining me on Monday and Tuesday to talk about inflammaging and the impact it has on the body, the skin, and what you can do about it to help relieve that inflammaging both internally and externally. So if you haven't already, make sure you go to www.dermalandlaser.com.au and you can purchase your tickets there. The session will be recorded and will be available to view for a month after the workshop. All right. Thank you, Eve. Have a great week, everyone. Chin up, stay strong. And, if we can help you in any way, just send us a message. All right. Good night.